Ladies and gentlemen, at this time it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce for remarks Brigadier General Michael Gould, Deputy Adjutant General, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Fort Indian Town, Gap.
Thank you. This has been done once already, but we cannot do it enough. Would all the Vietnam veterans and their families please rise or raise your hands to be welcomed home the way you should have been welcomed home the first time. And now I would ask all those nurses with us to please rise. From all of the veterans that are present today and not with us, I want to thank all of you for what you did for our veterans, not only in theater, but what you have continued to do for them after they've made it home. Thank you very much. Then finally, Carol Ann, I can think of no better place than having her here where she can continue to serve and watch over those that she proudly served while she was in uniform. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we introduce our next honored speaker, I'd like to give you a little bit of background. Our next speaker will be Brigadier General Wilma L. Vaught, United States Air Force, retired
Just introduce her.
in 1985. She's the president of the Board of Directors, Women in Military Service for America Memorial Foundation, Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Wilma L. Vaught, retired, United States Air Force.
Thank you very much. It is an honor and pleasure to be with you today on this important occasion here in your community. And I join you today not as someone who knew Carol Ann. I did not know her. And I join you not as a nurse, and she was a nurse. And we should all be grateful for that fact that I am not a nurse. Chemistry taught me early in the game that I should have nothing to do with the medical profession, and I have lived up to that. But I do join you as someone who served in Vietnam. I was there 2 years after Carol Ann served, and I served in Saigon, and she was at the 3rd Field Hospital there. And I was in that hospital one time to visit someone, and I think every bed there was filled. So I can only imagine what life was like for her working there in that hospital. But the two of us were two of the 7,500 women, military women, who served in Vietnam. But primarily today, I am not here as a Vietnam veteran. I am here as the president of the Women in Military Service Memorial Foundation, and in that capacity, I come here to represent and to pay tribute to Carol Ann on behalf of the over 2.5 million women who have served our nation in its armed forces, beginning with the American Revolution. And I am here representing that group and in their behalf, here to say thank you to all of those of you who worked so hard to bring this memorial to fruition, and to say thank you for doing that. You worked diligently, and you worked with such perseverance that it came to pass. And I know that having been in the memorial building business, it isn't easy to do these things. It isn't easy to raise that money. And if you don't raise the money, it doesn't happen. And you've done it. And I congratulate you. And you did it for the best of all reasons, so that she would be remembered. And, you know, there are so many memories. The one that Kim just described of the helicopter crash. And we can think about that crash, and we may understand the how of how it happened, but we will never understand the why of it, why it happened. I am reminded of some words of former President Jimmy Carter, who said, "Life is not always fair," and it was not fair that day in 1966 when we lost these 5 men and 2 nurses. Nurses who were close friends. Death was unquestionably the furthest thing from their minds. They were about to get a break from their hard work at the delightful place in Vietnam that I never got to visit, Dalat. And her life could have ended with a gravestone in a cemetery. But it didn't, and it hasn't, and it won't because of you. And as I think about what you have done in creating this memorial, I'm reminded of a woman who served, a World War I veteran, a yeoman. She was from Rhode Island. Her name was Janet Taylor, and that's all I know about her. And she wrote these words. She said, "I am a woman and a veteran, and I say it with great pride. I gave the very best I had. There's nothing I need hide. I have the right to know that the burden that I bore will always be remembered when they tell about the war." And as I think about Carol Ann, she could have said those words. She could say them today because she gave the very best she had. And I'm sure that she would say, as most of us who have served say, we want to be remembered when they tell about the war. We want to be remembered for our service. And that is what we're doing right here today. What you have heard about her in remembrance, her instructor at nursing school, the type of student she was, the lieutenant colonel who recruited her but was never able to forget her, the student at nursing school who was motivated by her, Kim, and the doctor and nurses who knew her, worked with her. They have not forgotten her. And they're all of you here in this community who have remembered her or who have heard her story and want her to be remembered. And the sister who was never able to forget her, she too remembers. So we remember her with a memorial, and we think about that. And we think about the words and pictures that are on that stone. So today, this memorial is being dedicated, and very shortly it will be unveiled. It is a fitting time because Memorial Day, May 28th, was the beginning of the observance of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. So today, with this memorial, we have a tribute to the first 2 military women to lose their lives in that conflict. And you can be proud of that. And to those of you who worked to bring this day, and without you it never would have happened. And you can be proud that you have created a memorial to cause people to remember the Vietnam War, to remember the many lives that were sacrificed, to remember the nurses, not just these 2 nurses, but all the nurses who worked so hard to save the sick and wounded during that war and every one of America's wars. And to remember Carol Ann, this special woman nurse from your community. And hopefully this memorial in this place will inspire others to give of themselves as she did and to live their lives so that they make a special contribution to this community, to our country, and to the world. Scranton can be very proud today, and we, all of us who are veterans, women veterans, are proud of you indeed. Thank you.
The one thing that General Vaught failed to mention, and I will not, as a proud former member of the United States Air Force, the lady that just spoke to you holds a place in American history and United States Air Force history. And what I mean by that is Brigadier General Wilma L. Vaught was the first Air Force female general.
I appreciate those words, but I was not the first Air Force woman general. I was the first Air Force general in the comptroller field. I was among the first 20 generals, so that's a far cry from that first he gave me credit for.
I'll do anything to make points with the women. That's what I had in my script. I apologize. The next person I'd like to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, is the Commanding General, U.S. Army Public Health Command and Chief, U.S. Army Nurse Corps. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you Major General Jimmy O. Keenan.
Thank you so much. You know, I tell you, I am just humbled and honored to be with you here today. I come from a small town in southwest Arkansas that we don't even have a stoplight. And I can tell you the community, the sense of community that I see here today is just phenomenal. And you can understand why Carol Ann was so proud to be from this great state and this great county, and how you all supported her, and how you're supporting her today, and how you're remembering her. Before I continue, I would like to recognize again Joanne and Joseph. Thank you so much for your sacrifice and that of your family. I know it's so hard, but thank you. You know, we've heard a lot about Carol Ann today, and I feel like I know Carol Ann because currently in my position as the Chief of the Army Nurse Corps, I have over 40,000 men and women serving around the world today doing what Carol Ann loved to do, and that's take care of America's sons and daughters. Carol Ann, and this is an interesting fact that I found out about her. She knew she wanted to be a nurse since she was 11. We heard somebody talk about that. How many of our kids know what they want to do today? But here's Carol Ann at 11 that knew she wanted to be a nurse. That's amazing. And she pursued that. And then to walk up and tell her nurse recruiter, Lieutenant Colonel Whalen, I'm going to be an Army nurse. To know that at age 11, she wanted to be a nurse, and then after talking with Lieutenant Colonel Whalen, that she wanted to be an Army nurse and that she would be an Army nurse. That is amazing, and that shows the dedication that Carol Ann had, not only to the profession of nursing, but also to our country. That she had that true love of country and that need to serve, that selfless service that the Reverend talked about earlier. Now, she volunteered to go to Vietnam. While many others would have said, no, not me, I'll stay here and serve, Carol Ann raised her hand and said, yes, I'll go. And it was that fateful decision that changed the course of her life and the lives of those she served. Now, we heard the story of Johnny Williams and many others like him who remember Carol Ann and the care that she gave them. That is what Carol Ann will be remembered for. She will also be remembered as a special person, the special people that we meet in our lives, who change our lives forever. And I dare say today, people who did not know Carol Ann before they came here today for this ceremony will always now remember Carol Ann and what she stood for and how she did care for America's sons and daughters. She was a 22-year-old Nurse Corps officer from Dunmore, Pennsylvania. She was a proud graduate of Scranton General Hospital nursing training program. And she selflessly served her country, and she made that ultimate sacrifice 45 years ago. She's going to be remembered by those close to her for her big heart, her compassion, her courage, and probably most of all, the love that she had of life. Today we celebrate her. She personifies what we want all nurses to be and all Army nurses to be. She remains in the heart of her family, of her fellow soldiers, her fellow nurses, and a grateful nation. I'd like to thank the Friends of the Forgotten Society for making this dedication possible, and especially Kim. And because I can do this, because I am the Chief of the Army Nurse Corps, Kim, you're an honorary member now of the Army Nurse Corps. Thank you.
I think so.
No, she volunteered. You volunteered, right? She volunteered. I voluntold her. Again, I want to thank you for being here today to witness this dedication, which will serve as a lasting tribute to Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba. Her memory for all of us will live on. And as you walk past her memorial, she will be looking at you, smiling, and saying, well done. Thank you. Serving to heal, honored to serve.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Major Jimmy O'Keenan, Chief Commander of the Army Nurse Corps. At this time, we're moving right along as quick as we can. I understand it's very warm out there. We would like everyone that's in the gray area by the statue, could you please move out to the edges by the white sidewalk or out to the back edges? We are going to have the unveiling of the statue by the Drazba family and Major General Keenan, Army Nurse Corps. This will be followed by the unveiling of the wall by Kim Atkinson and Ann Dolman. Ladies and gentlemen, when this event is over, please feel free to walk around over in the memorial area. Enjoy it. If you purchased a paver, please try to find your paver and just reflect for a minute on the life of Carol Ann Drazba. I would like at this time, Herman Johnson, United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran, to please come to the podium. Also, I would like Vince Sardo of the Dunmore Fire Department and former proprietor of Hometown Heroes to come up to the podium. Okay. We're going to have at this time, ladies and gentlemen, roll call of the 7 souls lost on the Huey helicopter February 18, 1966 by Herman Johnson, United States Marine Corps.
Lieutenant Colonel Charles M. Honorman, Jr. Captain Albert Merriman Smith. Specialist 4, Gary Ray Artman. Specialist 4, Christopher Joseph Lantz. Captain Thomas William Sakel. Elizabeth Ann Jones. Second Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please stay standing. We're going to have roll call of the 8 nurses who made the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War, read by the Scranton State General Hospital alumni. Would you please step forward and come up on stage?
Carol Ann Drazba, U.S. Army. Second Lieutenant Elizabeth Ann Jones, U.S. Army.
Captain Eleanor Grace Alexander, U.S. Army.
Second Lieutenant Pamela Dorothy Donovan, U.S. Army.
Second Lieutenant Annie Ruth Graham, U.S. Army.
Captain Mary Teresa Klinker, U.S. Army.
First Lieutenant Shan Ann Lan, U.S. Army.
First Lieutenant Hedwig Diane Herlosky, U.S. Army.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored members of the Scranton State General Hospital nursing alumni. At this time, we'd like to direct your attention back to the memorial area. We're going to have the dedication of the Dunmore Vietnam Veterans Bench, donated by Dunmore High School, class of 1960. This will be unveiled by Dr. Edwin S. Malloy, MD, brother of Thomas Malloy and family. I have the 1960 classmates of Carol Ann. Please come up to the podium. We're going to have roll call of the 4 Dunmore residents who gave their life and made the ultimate sacrifice in the Vietnam War. This will be announced by the 1960 classmates.
Class of 1960, valedictorian, Second Lieutenant Anthony Joseph Batista.
Specialist 4, Thomas William Malloy. Specialist 4, Carl Francis Reinierson.
Private Thomas Michael Warden.
I want to read something that was given to me, a gentleman from a patient at the Gino Merli Veterans Center. Robert Price was down at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and with his health issues, he was still able to go to the wall and do a little tracing of Carol Ann Drazba, and we have that and we will cherish it. I'd like everyone at this time to be seated, please. To the stage, I need George Atkinson, Scranton State General Hospital alumni and classmates of 1960 of Carol Ann, thank you for being up here on stage with us. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring to the podium our Sergeant at Arms and Road Captain. He's going to make a special presentation to Major General Keenan. Ladies and gentlemen, George Atkinson, United States Army.
I'm not much of a speaker, so. General Keenan, on behalf of the Friends of Forgotten, Northeast Wing, I'd like to present this Carol Ann Drazba, pointing to you to cherish and to remember. Never, ever forget. Thank you.
I'll be making a special presentation to Brigadier General Wilma Vaught. Please rise. It is my distinct honor and pleasure as a former member of the United States Air Force. On behalf of Friends of the Forgotten, I would like to present you with this commemorative coin of the 2nd Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba, RN Memorial. Please keep it in a place of honor and never forget the ultimate sacrifice that Lieutenant Drazba made for her country. General, I present you with this coin. Our next coin presentation will be made by Ann Doman.
Please accept that coin. Thank you.
Very good.
And I'll give you No, I'm going to do it. Okay. Louise Whalen, would you please stand? We had a very special commemorative coin made. One side is Carol's face with "Become Fast Friends," and we will forever keep in touch. Again, nurse, you're not nurse. Nurse to colonel, woman to woman, honor to honor. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for this memorial.
I'm going to ask at this time if Joanne Drazba Catula and Joseph Drazba would please step forward for a presentation by our president, a very special honor.
I'd like to present you with this honorable coins that we had made. It's commemorative coins for Carol Ann. Honor these and cherish these, and thank you for everything.
We certainly will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to introduce County Commissioner Jim Wansack and County Commissioner Patrick O'Malley for a presentation.
It is truly an honor and a privilege to be standing here before all of you today. 45 years ago, a great woman lost her life, protecting and nurturing our soldiers and fighting on behalf of our country. This memorial is an incredible tribute to her life. Well, like for many of the people in this audience who knew Carol Ann, 45 years seem like yesterday. I'm very sorry on behalf of the commissioners for your loss, especially to Joanne and Joseph Drazba. I just wonder if they could come up to receive their proclamation on behalf of their sister, who was a true hero and a true patriot to our country and to our community and to the community of Dunmore. I'm very sorry for that. You're fine. Whereas 2nd Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba, RN and first nurse woman killed in Vietnam, will forever be remembered for her sacrifice and dedicated service to her community and to the United States of America. Whereas a native of Dunmore, Pennsylvania, Carol Ann was described by friends and family as always adventurous. She joined the Army in her 2nd year of nursing, and after basic training was assigned to Arizona, where she built a reputation as an excellent operating room nurse. Whereas in 1965, Carol volunteered for service in Vietnam. She arrived in November and was attached to the 3rd Field Hospital near Saigon. After weeks of endless hours of surgery, this unique and unselfish soldier nurse was finally able to take off some time for a weekend of rest, and she never made it, perishing in a helicopter crash. Whereas today, we preserve her memory and ensure that future generations come to honor her commitment as a nurse, veteran, and true heroic historic figure. Now therefore, we, Corey D. O'Brien, James Wansack, Patrick M. O'Malley, Commissioners of Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, do hereby acknowledge and proclaim June 16, 2012 as Carol Ann Drazba Day in Lackawanna County.
I just want to say how proud I am. When you sit up here on this podium today and you look out at the tremendous amount of people that showed up here today, it says a lot about our county. It says a lot about our area. And it makes me so excited to be here. The 22 members of Carol Ann's family who came back, I know some of you have come from out of the area to be here today. Welcome back. You've seen what Carol Ann means to our community. The Friends of the Forgotten, and in particular Kim Atkinson, I remember the day at Hometown Heroes Bar when they all got together and she pushed and she pushed and she pushed to make this a reality. And as you can see, so many of the Friends of Forgotten and our past veterans that are here today, they did so much to make this memorial happen here today. And when you look back at the resemblance, it is remarkable. It is beautiful. And I just want to thank all of you for coming out here today to be part of this. It says a lot about our community, and we all should be proud when we stand here today. And the Drazba family, thank you so much, and I hope you realize that she means so much to us. We honor our heroes. I know Dunmore Borough does in Lackawanna County, and thank you so much for sharing this day with us.
Thank you very much for coming.
We've acknowledged so many people today and recognized so many people for their wonderful contributions to this special event and memorial. The one thing we didn't reach out and thank, and we're all brothers and sisters, is all the remaining members out there of Friends of the Forgotten. I would like you, if you're seated, to stand. If you're standing, please raise your hand and be acknowledged by the crowd. You should be very proud today. At this time, I would like to ask our President, Jack Stahulik, and our Secretary, Ed Fatz, to please go down in front of the stage area and take the red, white, and blue wreath for our first wreath presentation. Women's Veteran Organization. I can read. Vietnam Women's Memorial Foundation. Say that 3 times quick. We're going to have a rifle salute by American Legion Post 665 from Dixon City, followed by taps performed by Melissa Bennett, United States Navy.
It reads, "With our deepest gratitude for your vision, leadership, and commitment to bringing to completion and dedication the 2nd Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba, RN, U.S. Army Memorial, Friends of the Forgotten." Same thing with George. If it wasn't for George taking her everywhere she had to go and everything she does, he's a very vital part of this organization, just as she is. And again, we had a little plaque made up for George and our way of Friends of Forgotten to say thank you. And it reads this: "With our heartfelt thanks for your dedication and continued support in making the 2nd Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba, RN, U.S. Army Memorial not just an idea, but a reality. Friends of the Forgotten."
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come to a conclusion. Please remain standing. We're going to have benediction by the Reverend Dr. Major General Frederick Mauger.
First, I would like to say thank you to the Friends of the Forgotten for the honor of participating in this Memorial Day. It's tremendous. Let us pray. Lord, lead us from death to life, from lies to truth, from despair to hope, from fear to trust, from hatred to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our heart, our world, our universe. Peace, peace, peace. Amen.
Joe and I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon. Our thanks to everyone who was involved in any way in this wonderful tribute to Carol. Thanks to Parisi Monument for their beautiful work. To Ann Dolman for keeping Carol's memory alive. Special thanks to Kim Atkinson, who made this day possible. If Carol were here today, I'm sure she would say, "What's all the fuss about?" Thank you.
For very, very, I hope, brief remarks, Kim Atkinson. This will be followed by a patriotic medley by the Dunmore High School Band led by Nicole Zawicki. Kim?
Again, I want to honor everyone that has come. You have honored us by your presence. I want to invite you to partake in a little bit of refreshments behind in the gazebo area. Please join us. We still may have some commemorative coins left and the Carol Ann Drazba shirts and patches over at the tents over here. And it will be an ongoing thing to have the commemorative pavers engraved. We can still have them done if you want to help. The money will go towards all veterans issues, the completion, the upkeep of the monument, and for our veterans. Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure to be here today, and what an honor. Thank you.
Nicole, would you hold on one second? One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Kim went through this earlier, but as a veteran, we can never honor a veteran enough. And I would like at this time for all veterans and nurses to please stand and accept our applause. If you're standing, raise your hand so we know you're there. And thank you for serving your country, and thank you for serving your chosen profession, nurses. Thank you.
crashed an airplane, right? Yeah, we should. They had forgotten something. Yeah. An airplane, but they wanted and they haven't changed at all.
That's right. He's part of this place. That's right. That's right. I was good.
Oh my goodness, you don't really need me.
Yes, we need your outfit. How beautiful. Just how beautiful. Thumbs up.
We're good, thank you.
Dad.
And again. One, two, three. Another camera. Yes.
Wait a minute, Joe. This one. I've always been looking on my face.
Okay.
Okay. I like it.
Let's do one more and center it.
Thank you. Thank you. We got to put this on our our class has a website. We can put that on our website.
From WNEP, the news station, this is News Watch 16 at 11.
A new monument now stands in Scranton in honor of the first American woman killed in the Vietnam War. Newswatch 16's Rennie Workman was among the hundreds who turned out for the unveiling of the memorial of Dunmore native and Army nurse Ann Drazba.
More than 45 years after she died in the service of her country, a permanent memorial to Army nurse 2nd Lieutenant Ann Drazba was unveiled in Scranton. There were hugs and tears as family and friends honored the first woman killed in the Vietnam War, and hundreds turned out to pay tribute.
Oh, it's just wonderful. I mean, just can't imagine after all the 3 years that we've gone through that it's finally here, you know? So it's wonderful. What a tribute. What a tribute.
We're just so grateful for this day that Carol gets the honor that she's due. She was our hero.
A Dunmore resident, 22-year-old Drazba, and 6 others died on February 18, 1966, in a helicopter crash in southern Vietnam. Family and friends say she volunteered to serve during the war, all to help wounded soldiers.
She wanted to go over and help our boys over there. So she did it, you know. It's just too bad it ended so shortly, but at least she did some good.
The statue of Drazba stands near the Gino Merli Veterans Center and the site of the former Scranton State Hospital, where she trained as a nurse.
This is sacred ground. This is where she started, where she was educated. She walked through the doors on the exact spots that she's standing on.
The memorial to Drazba and other Vietnam veterans was a 3-year labor of love by Friends of the Forgotten, a veterans group that raised more than $80,000 through community donations.
She's forever memorialized. She'll never be forgotten. We made sure of that today.
The Lackawanna County Commissioners also proclaimed June 16, 2012 as 2nd Lieutenant Ann Drazba Day. As one of just 8 women killed in Vietnam, Drazba will always have a place in history. Rennie Workman, Newswatch 16, Scranton.
Covering northeastern and central Pennsylvania and everywhere you are. This is Eyewitness News at 11 in high definition.
Good evening and thanks for joining us this Saturday night. I'm Andy Mahalchik. A special service honoring a woman killed in the Vietnam War was held today. It was for 2nd Lieutenant Ann Drazba. She was a Dunmore native and the first nurse killed during the Vietnam War. A bronze statue of her was unveiled today outside the Gino Merli Veterans Center. Friends say Drazba should be remembered as someone who was there for everyone.
I want you to remember her as a nurse's nurse. And by that I mean someone who was dedicated, conscientious, the kind that treated everybody with dignity and respect.
The Lackawanna County Commissioners have proclaimed today as Second Lieutenant Carol Ann Drazba Day. Well, it's time now for your first weather. Meteorologist